What's going on, Godzirra Nation? This is Arghgodzirra, and football is back. Thank fuck for that. Round 2 is kicking off this week, and it's time to turn our attention not only to the tips that we will be putting in this week, but having a look back at the tips that we made back in round 1, which was like so long ago. I'm going to put a link in the description right here for this particular competition, so you can get involved with Arghgodzirra's 2020 footy tipping comp. This URL right here. It'll be down in the description below, as well as the competition code. Having a look at the live ladder. Some Cripple and El Snako both managing to tip 8 correct tips in round 1, holding respective lead on the ladder. Memzar and Gannon both tipped 7. TLB, Oliver Laird and Zeta all tipped 6. Madge Tig 77, Motherfuckers, Arghgodzirra and Flynn Boyd all tipped 5. And V Crimson HD tipped the 3. But that's okay. It's a brand new week of football. A lot of shit has gone down the last couple of months, and a lot of things can still shift on this ladder. We're only 1 round deep. Plenty of time for you to join if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to get on board. But, turning our attention to the point of this video, we are now skipping ahead to round 2, and it is time to put in our footy tips. Feel free to leave a comment down below which tips you're going to be putting in as well. Friday night, or Thursday night, I keep forgetting Thursday night, football's now a thing. Collingwood, Richmond, MCG. I'm going to go with the Tigers. I'm obviously going to go with the Tigers. I'm not going to back against my boys, right? We're going to look at a margin of 23. I'm going to put 23 points. I think it's going to be a close game. A lot of people keep referencing the fact that Collingwood absolutely belted Richmond at the beginning of the season last year. Nobody seems to, kind of tread over the fact that Richmond belted Collingwood the second time around. So, let's see how this goes. I mean, momentum going off of round 1, you can't really count momentum anymore. Both teams had a really, had a solid win in retrospect. Collingwood probably had the bigger win over Bulldogs than Richmond did over Carlton. But you can't take that as any indication or any marker at this current point in time. So that's what I'm going to tip for Thursday. Heading over to Friday, we're at the GMHBA Stadium. We've got Geelong taking on Hawthorn. I feel this is a 50-50 game. I really feel Hawthorn could pull an upset off here, but I'm going to go with the Catters. I think the Cats can get it done. The Cats need to get a rebound after their first loss to GWS in round 1. I feel this is where they can do it. Now that they've been granted the GMHBA games at home through the COVID-19 crisis that's going on, and I think it's funny that it took a global pandemic in order for them to get the home games at GMHBA Stadium, but I think they need to use that to their advantage to the fullest. They play that ground so well, and I think they'll lock up a win on Friday. Saturday at the Gabba, Brisbane taking on Fremantle. I think it's pretty clear cut. Brisbane's going to win that quite comfortably. We then head over to Marvel Stadium, where Carlton is taking on Melbourne. And I'm actually quite surprised that 62% have gone with Carlton here. Only 38% the way of Melbourne. This game's a real danger as well. Like, you can go back to round 1 and have a look. I mean, Carlton did really well against Richmond. And then Melbourne played against West Coast and held their own to a certain extent as well over in Optus. So it's a real coin flip, this game. Carlton or Melbourne. Even though I feel players like Patrick Cripps, Ed Curnow, they'll be up and about, I think Max Gawn's going to come out and have a huge game for Melbourne. And I think Melbourne, on paper, have a way better team. I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to go with Melbourne. A lot of you will probably think Carlton are going to get up here, and I know I've got a lot of Carlton supporting, subscribers on the channel. I do apologise for backing against you early, but I think Melbourne get the rebound before Carlton do. We then travel over to Adelaide Oval, where the showdown's going down. Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. I think Port Adelaide keep any sort of momentum that they had in the first round, even though I just mentioned that momentum can't really go anywhere. Their first round win, they're sitting on top of the ladder. I wouldn't have thought they'd be sitting on top of the ladder. I think they're going to continue to sit on top of the ladder, though. I think they're a dark horse for the finals this year. They seem to fall over when expected to win, so this is a game where they probably, you know, they'll come out firing but get toppled over at the end, if you know what I'm saying. But I've got to back Port Adelaide. I think they'll comfortably beat Adelaide here. And Saturday rounds out Gold Coast, West Coast at Metricon, and West Coast is going to absolutely hammer them. It is going to be a bloodbath, ladies and gentlemen. And West Coast might as well get used to the fact of playing at Metricon, because now that the South Australian... Oh, hang on. That says Adelaide Oval, but that's not right, is it? That can't be right. I thought Adelaide and Western Australian teams were in... regardless, let's forget about that fact. West Coast are going to beat Gold Coast quite comfortably. Sunday, we've got 3 games of football. The first of which sees GWS taking on North Melbourne at Giant Stadium, and I think GWS are going to win that one quite comfortably. I think that's self-explanatory in its own right. At the SCG, Sydney taking on Essendon. I think Sydney continue their run. They could impress this year. Without Lance Franklin still for a little bit more, but I still think they get the job done without Buddy in the team. And the final game of the round at Marvel Stadium, St Kilda taking on the Bulldogs. I think the Bulldogs bounce back after being demoralised by Collingwood round 1. I was silly enough to tip the Bulldogs. I thought the Bulldogs could get it done against Collingwood. They got absolutely obliterated, but I think this week, quite comfortably, they get the job done against St Kilda. So, having a look over the tips I've locked in, I'm going to go with Richmond, Geelong, Brisbane, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, West Coast, GWS, Sydney, and the Bulldogs. If we compare my tips to the most popular tips, the only team that I really backed against was Carlton. 62% think Carlton are going to win, and I went with Melbourne. But apart from that, the majority is pretty much on par with what I've gone with. The majority think by an average of 19 points, Richmond's going to beat Collingwood. I said 23, so it's still thereabout. But regardless, that locks in my tips for round 2. That's what I think is going to go down. And that's it for the video. Thank you for joining me. If you want to see things like myself predicting the AFL ladder after certain rounds and all that kind of stuff, I'm happy to do that. And I appreciate you guys reaching out and watching all the AFL content I have been putting out on the channel. I mean, True Footy commented on one of my videos, and I've been watching True Footy since I can remember. And True Footy is a huge inspiration to myself when it comes to AFL content. So to know that they've been, you know, subscribed and watching my content for so long without my knowledge, it just blows my mind. So I'm looking at doing more AFL based content moving forward. So if you've got any suggestions, just let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit that like button. As I said, you can leave a comment down below with the tips you're putting in. I also mentioned at the top of the video, I will put it up once more if you do want to join. I am going to put this URL in the description down below with the comp code. I think given the circumstances, I think in the beginning I said round 3 I was going to do a cutoff. I'll probably make the cutoff round 5 now, given what's gone down and how we're still kind of slowly trekking forward with what's going to go on with the season this year. But at any rate, get on board. I'm looking at giving out prizes to winners and stuff this year, just like I did last year. And it's a good time to get on board too. We've already got 12 in there, which is already an improvement from what we had last year. We've been getting about 10 people every year. 12 to kick things off. Great start. But we can do better. If you're new to the channel, there is plenty of other content to check out. I urge you to go do that. And if you enjoy what's going down, you can hit that subscribe button down below. Pledge your allegiance to the Godzirra Nation. Join one hell of a community of people. And by doing so, you'll also be supporting this guy. Ring that notification bell. So if YouTube does decide on the off chance, hey, let's notify somebody that Arghgodzirra has dropped a video, you'll get that notification. And don't fucking lie to me, YouTube. I know you guys fuck around sometimes and don't. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.